Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for the GMAT. We have been solving GMAT math problems out of this book here, GMAT Review, the official guide, the 13th edition. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are going to solve, the problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 156, and today is our lesson number 33. Let's take a look at it. Problem number 32 on page number 156. It says if the quotient a over b is positive, so we are told that a over b is positive. The question simply is, which of the following must be true? Which must be true? Well, answer choice A says that A is positive. Well, that is not necessarily true. A is positive, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because we are told that A over B is positive, which implies if this fraction A over B is positive. Now the fact that sometimes I use capital letter and sometimes I use a small letter, don't worry about it, don't be anal, just ignore it. A over B is positive, that implies that either both A and B are positive, or both are negative. Why? Because positive divided by positive is greater than 0, and negative divided by negative is greater than 0. If you have a negative number, if you divide by another negative number, negative divided by negative is positive or greater than 0, and positive divided by positive is greater than 0. All we know is that when you divide quantity A by B, the result is positive. All we know is that when you divide A by B, the result is positive, which means that either both A and B are positive, that's one scenario, or both A and B are negative. The first statement says A is positive. Well, not necessarily. A would be positive if we had been told that B is positive. If we had been told that B is positive, then A must be positive. Then this statement would have been true. The question is, which of the following must be true? Excuse me. The statement A is something that may or may not be true. Without the knowledge of B, without any knowledge about whether or not B is positive or negative, we cannot tell for sure whether A statement A is necessarily true or not. Let's look at B. B has the same problem. In the B, they say B is positive. It's the same argument will apply, exact same argument will apply. We cannot tell for sure. B may be positive, B may not be positive. This is something that may be true. It is not something that must be true. It is not something that has to be true. B may be positive if it turns out that A is positive. If quantity A is positive on the top, then B must be positive because their division, their quotient is a positive quantity, we are told. But we do not know that. We do not know anything about A. C says, let's take a look at C. C says A times B is positive. Aha! We know, so let me erase this error here. We know because of the fact that we are told that A over B is positive, this is the part that is given in the question. Because of the fact that we are told that A over B is positive, we know that either both A and B are positive or both A and B are negative. Those are the only two scenarios that are possible. Let's see what happens. If they are both positive, then positive times a positive would be positive. Positive times a positive would be positive. Or if it turns out that they are both negative, in that case also a negative times a negative would be positive. So in either scenario, if it turns out both A and B are positive, their product is going to be more than 0. If it turns out both A and B are negative, both A and B are negative, their product is again going to be positive or greater than 0. This statement is something that has to be true. It must be true. C is the answer. It must be true. In answer choice D, they go on to tell us, answer choice D, they go on to tell us that their difference is positive. Well, how the hell do we know that? How the hell do we know that their difference is positive? How can we tell which one is the greater, A or B? We can't tell. That's not something that's necessarily true. It says their difference is positive. The way they say it is that A minus B is greater than 0. We do not know that for sure. That's not something that must be true. It may be true, who knows? And in E, they go on to say that their sum is positive. Again, there is also something that's not necessarily true. How can their sum be positive if they both turn out to be negative? That's all. Let's do the next one, shall we? The one about the chart. The next question that we're going to do, listen carefully. The next question that we're going to do, it is not something that is difficult, and yet many a time people get this kind of question. I'm talking about question number 33. Question number 33. Many a times I have seen people, including myself, where people get this kind of question wrong. Not, as I said before already, not because it's a hard question. It's a very simple question. It's actually a gift. You just have to make sure you take your sweet time. Many a times I have seen people make mistakes, including myself, as I said, because we try to do it in a rush. This is not the kind of sort of question that you can do in a hurry. Because it only takes a mistake of miscounting by one and you blow the question. That's it. I'm going to actually reproduce the chart on the blackboard as best as I can. There we go. As I said, as best as I can. This marker is lying, so I'm going to change it. And so it starts out with 20 here, and it starts out with 20 here. Then we have 22, or rather 24. That's the part. That's a 24. Then they give you 28. Then they give us 32. That's it. Now we have our grid. Now let's see what they give us. Okay, you do it with me. Make sure that the problem you do it with me on a piece of paper. Don't just stare at it. Reproduce on a piece of paper. You will get something out of it. You will get used to dealing with this thing in the real exam when you have to do it under stress, under the pressure of time. Do it with me. Redraw it. On the vertical axis we have the fuel efficiency. So on the vertical axis we are measuring miles per gallon. And of course on the horizontal axis we have the weight. Weight in hundreds of pounds. In hundreds of pounds. Okay, let's get going then. I see the very first one on 32. On the very first line on 32, I see two of them right here. Very simple, very straightforward. Then I see one below it. Then I see three right after that. Three of them are right after that. Not underneath it, but right from here. 1, 2, 3. And then I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, but two of them overlap. That's right, two overlap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So far so good. And then we have three underneath it with one off on the right on the right hand side. So far so good. Three of them. And then we have four more lining up exactly underneath where this guy ends. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then finally we have one right underneath this guy. And this is 20. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It goes apparently up to 30. That's it, we are done. We have reproduced the graph. answering the question is very straightforward. We are looking for, the question is how many cars are more than 2,500 pounds? So here we go. More than 2,500 pounds. So here we go. We're going to do one at a time. Don't try to do, there are two criteria. Do one criterion at a time. Let's see if we actually learn this word. Well, I'm going to put it in, I'm digressing here for a second for no good reason. We'll come to this in a second. Let's first finish the problem. We'll come to that in a second. So there are two criteria here that we have to fulfill. The car has to be more than 2,500 pounds and it has to give us gas mileage of 22 or more. So we'll do one at a time. 2,500 or more. 2,500 is right here. Does it say more than 2,500? Ah, you see, I just missaid it myself. It doesn't say 2,500 or more. It says more than 25. I almost blew it myself. More than 25, which means the story begins from here. We're not interested in this part. This is up to 25. We're not interested. We're not interested in this thing. The story begins here on the right hand side. And the second criterion is the mileage. The mileage has to be more than 22. In other words, it has to be more than 22 miles per gallon. 22 miles per gallon or 22 miles per gallon, however you want to write it. And for those of you who are watching this thing outside the US, I cannot help you guys. You just have to get used to the terminologies. In the US, they use miles, they use gallons. Don't ask me why. So that's what it is. So I'm doing it for the benefit of our people who are not familiar with this terminology, with this notation rather. MPG stands for miles per gallons, which would be same in your lingo as kilometers per liter. That's what it is, kilometers per liter. Instead of gallons we have instead of liters we have gallons, and instead of kilometers we have miles. Yeah. So anyway, enough of this talk. Yeah, I'm babbling for no reason. Has to be more than 22, which means anything under 22 does not count. Okay, listen carefully. Anything under 22 does not count. This is your 22. 22 or under does not count. So now the story begins from here. That's it. At this point, all we have to do is just count them. That's all it is. It's just a matter of simple counting. It's just a matter of simple counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Voila, that's your answer. There is nothing to it. There is nothing to it. Now before we brag too much about it, I just want to make sure that I did it correctly myself. I'm going to quickly look at the answers in the back. That was number 33. Number 33, it says B, and B is 5. What do you know? It's 5 of them right there. The answer is B. Now listen, I do not have my vocabulary list here with me, and I don't want to run to the next room to actually get it. But for those of you who do not know what I'm talking about, in addition to the video that you're watching to prepare for the math part, I also have some vocabulary videos on the YouTube to help you improve your vocabulary. Doesn't matter whether you're preparing for GRE, GMAT or SAT, having a good vocabulary is a must. And in my vocabulary videos, I'm not sure if I've covered this word or not. If I've not covered it, I will make a point of covering it in the future. This is the word. It annoys the hell out of me many a times. Even the so-called educated people I've heard going around saying the only criteria that we use. No, you cannot have a bloody only criteria. Criteria is a plural of the word criterion. You cannot have the only criteria. The only criterion that we use, not criteria. Which is how I used the word in the beginning here. I said let's do one criterion at a time. There are two criteria we have to fulfill. The car has to be heavier than 2,500 pounds and it has to give us a gas mileage of more than 22 miles per gallon. There are two criteria that we have to fulfill, two criteria that we have to meet. But the smart strategy would be always to tackle one criterion at a time. That's it. It's out of my system. I feel much better. I will see you next time. Okay? Bye now.